Thank you, sir.
All right, joining us now on the phone is Porfirio Villarreal. He's with the Houston Health and Human Services Department. Porfirio, thanks so much for joining us. This storm has just brought on so many different issues, and one of those issues, of course, is the health and the condition of the water. Talk to us from your standpoint about what people need to do to make sure that they're staying healthy and that they're not being further harmed by this water in any kind of way.
The most important thing that anyone can do if they come in contact with the floodwaters is just good hygiene, basic hygiene. Hand washing is really important. So wash your hands frequently, and also don't forget to wash your children's hands, especially after meals. That's really important. So just good hygiene, wash your hands often. Also, do not eat any food that was contaminated by the floodwaters. So if floodwaters had contact with the food, just throw it out. Now, if the food was in containers, if you prepared for the hurricane and bought canned goods, what you could do is prepare a solution of 1 cup household liquid bleach per 5 gallons of water. So just you do the mixture and then just get a rag and just start cleaning it and dumping in that water. Just clean it off. Just use a rag with that solution of 1 cup bleach and 5 gallons of water, and just clean it out. That's really important.
Porfirio, you were quoted in the New York Times today as saying there is no need to test the water because you know it is contaminated. Talk about some of the things that might be lurking in the water that you are concerned about.
Yeah, let me first off say that in the United States, when we have flooding incidents, there's never significant outbreaks of disease. So let's just be clear about that. Here in the U.S., unlike other countries, there is never, we don't experience that mass outbreaks of disease. Now, having said that, it's still really important to avoid the floodwaters. So you don't want to go in. Of course, it is contaminated. There is no need to test the water. We know there's, germs in the soil, homes that were flooded. In their home, you have oils, liquid detergents, you have cars, any of the things that we keep in our homes, and that contaminates the water. In the soil, you have germs. You have E. coli, Shigella, norovirus, things that makes us sick. So you just got to make sure that if you do come in contact, good hygiene, as we mentioned at the beginning, just shower, go to a shelter to shower if your home is flooded, and just wash yourself and get a good shower. Use lots of soap. That's really important. It's very important for people, for example, who had puncture wounds or have cuts. That's really important.
Yeah, Porfirio, and not just a good hygiene, that's obviously important, but also oftentimes it gets so frustrating whenever we have any kind of flooding. We can often see images of people allowing their kids to play in the water. This is water that you certainly don't even, as you said, don't even approach, but certainly don't let your kids play in.
You don't want to, because there might be ants, other critters, snakes. You just want to avoid that. Also, if you're in the water and you trip, you can have an accident. There may be a nail. There may be other things that could cut you, and so you want to avoid that. Accidents happen, you fall, you break a leg, and everything else. So just stay out of the floodwaters. That's really important. Now, if you've got to wash, if your child has played, just make sure that bring him into the home or wherever you're at, and just bathe and just use plenty of soap and water.
Mr. Villarreal, I also want to talk about something else. In the Houston area, we know there is a large amount of industry here. We're talking chemical plants. Again, in that Times article, they were addressing Superfund sites. We, within the last couple of days, have seen an example of this happening where the Arkema plant in the Crosby area took on between 4 to 6 feet of water, according to the company's CEO, and that is a site that houses chemicals. Can you address the concern of this water coming in contact with not just homes and sewer systems, but with industry and industrial chemicals, perhaps?
Yeah, that's why it's really important. We do not know what's in the water. We know that it's contaminated. There's everything from germs to chemicals to animals. That's just really important to if at all possible, stay away. Do not get in any floodwaters. That's really important, and that's the best thing you can do to stay healthy. Leave if your home is flooded. Leave if you're near some kind of industry. Just leave the area to avoid coming in contact with any chemical.
Are you collecting any data of potential illnesses that people may contract as a result of these floodwaters?
Yeah, well, we're the Houston Health Department is helping with the shelters and supporting that. So we are monitoring for any illnesses. We are monitoring the populations. We're always in contact with hospitals, so we do monitor illnesses. Now, I have to reinforce that when we do have such flooding in the United States, it never results nowadays in disease outbreaks or stuff like that, but you still got to make sure that you stay away. You don't want to be in floodwaters because you can have a wound that gets contaminated and then you have an infection. You want to avoid that.
And Porfirio, what this largely comes down to sounds like is just good common sense.
Yeah, it is, and if you're able to go back to your home safely, to start cleaning and sanitizing your home. If the water or the flood waters got into your home, take steps to prevent mold growth. First, what you've got to do is just, get some soap and detergent and warm, clean water, and then start removing dirt and debris. The next thing you do is just sanitize surfaces with the bleach that we talked about earlier. Use that 1 cup of bleach for 5 gallons of water, and just to start cleaning, and that will prevent mold growth. You don't want to people who have allergies, that may get aggravated, and that's where you don't want the mold there. If you have drywall or sheetrock that got wet, you just want to cut at least a foot above the water line and remove that sheetrock and remove that insulation that got wet, and get it out of your home and throw it. And that's really important. You don't want to mold develop in your home. That's really important. You don't want to develop an allergy, irritation, skin irritations, eye irritations, and that's really what you can do to start cleaning your home, sanitizing it, and staying away from the flood waters. If you flood it, you've got a lot of work to do in your home. Throw out any mattresses, carpeting, carpet padding, any rugs that really had contact with the water, furniture that's upholstered furniture, cosmetics, stuffed animals, and you want to disinfect your children's toys with that solution of bleach and water.
Yeah, so last question, we really do have to let you go, but I just want to we've asked city leaders this repeatedly. I just want your take. Is the drinking water in the city of Houston safe to drink?
The water in Houston is safe to drink. It has never been unsafe. So throughout this thing, that was one great thing. We never had to call for boil water. Now, it's important in other municipalities or counties around us. There are some boil water notices, and in other parts of Texas that were impacted. So there you do have to bring that water to a boil for at least 1 minute, good rolling boil for at least a minute or two, and that way your water is safe. But right now, the water in Houston is safe. Now, if there's about 100 to 200 water wells here in Harris County, those you consider contaminated if there was flood water that got into that well. So we can take it to be tested. The Houston Health Department, once the laboratory is up and running, then we can test it. The people can just come collect from us receptacles, containers, and they collect the water and they bring it. But it's a process we explain to them once they pick up the containers, and so they can go pick up the containers, get the water tested, bring us the water, and we'll test it and give them the results. But if the flood water basically got into that water well, it needs to be considered contaminated.
Okay, Porfirio Villarreal with Houston Health and Human Services, thank you for your insight. We appreciate it. We will check in with you again soon.